So guys, I've just arrived in Amsterdam, but I wanted to give you a quick market update. So we're looking at BTC lower time frame levels. We're looking at some altcoin setups that I'm watching. Let's go. Remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. This is a pre-record. You can see I'm not in my studio. I'm in a hotel in Amsterdam. We're here for the Bitcoin conference, and we're also here for the Hackers community get-together. We've got a big get-together happening tomorrow, and if you're in the Hackers Discord, you can find out all about it. You'll know exactly where we are going to be. So let's get into this market update. Let's get you some trade setups, and let me tell you what I'm doing at the moment. So we can start with some banter bubbles. We can see Euro is taking an absolute pounding here at the moment. Zcash a little bit green, QNT doing green things at the moment. But I would say after yesterday's pretty successful bounce off that 786 fib for BTC, it's basically been downhill now over the last couple of hours. And we've had quite a bearish rejection, and this has taken a lot of the altcoins down with it. So let's start with the BTC situation. And you can see the play. So this was our 786 from yesterday. We had 101K we were watching. This was our last backup zone. We had a 618 sitting up there. We had order block sitting over here, and we were looking for a wick into that 101K, which is what they dished out. They were polite enough. So nice little bounce on BTC. The danger was always going to be this bearish retest. Like you can see, we've had a bearish retest, and you can see we've also got a trend now tracking lower. So this is telling us potentially there's a little bit more downside on BTC. So in terms of max longing everything, we obviously need to be a little bit cautious. And if Bitcoin is going to drop a little bit lower, it might help you with some of these altcoin setups that I'm going to give you guys in a couple of minutes. So in terms of levels we want to watch now, Bitcoin 101K, again, we can test that for a bounce. So if we drop into that zone, let's look for some kind of bounce over there. We can see quite clearly now major resistance for us, 103,300. That is also our VWAP in the way. So we can see 103,300 danger zone. Then a little bit higher up, we've got 104,900. If we pump into there, that'll be a pretty nice move. I think these alts will do pretty nicely if we do get that push, but that is a rejection zone. Then a little bit higher, I've written here VWAP danger, and you can see this is our VWAP from our previous highs. Look at that over there, 106K. So I wouldn't look much past these three levels, 103,300, call it 105K, and 106,100. I wouldn't look much past those levels to the upside. But what is very interesting to me, and this was one of the scenarios that I spoke about yesterday, was if Bitcoin does start losing levels, there is an opportunity here for a sweep of these lows and a possible proper bear trap where we can catch some of these bears getting way too bearish, dropping out shorts on major support. So look for a sneaky play at around about 98,400, somewhere in this type of region. It will basically be a stop hunt below those lows. Now, naturally, they can drop it further, so just manage your risk accordingly. But I'd say let's look for a reaction here. Let's look for a wick down, stop hunt, and then a nice hard pump out of BTC. So this would be my ideal scenario. If that happens, obviously, we're going to be faced with a situation where these altcoins, some of these trades that we are still sitting in, might drop to lower levels. So I'm going to get you prepped now on things like Hyperliquid. I've got a virtual for you guys. I've got an arrow chart here for you guys as well. And 𝗏, that's obviously on our hit list. We need to pay attention to this one over the next couple of weeks because we've got the halving coming, and there might be a nice increase for that, guys. So guys, there's your Bitcoin ping pong zones. You can see as we speak, this is dropping a little bit. So that's the area for me. That's the big game plan. Now let's look at dominance, and you can see again this dominance chart, such a beautiful thing. Really, guys, you should be using this. We drop into the support zone. What happens? It says altcoin danger. When we drop into that support, you often look for a bounce in Bitcoin dominance. What does that mean? It means Bitcoin outperforms alts. And obviously, if the market's falling over, these alts get rinsed. Okay, so that's always a danger sign there for us. So right now, big support, 59.75%. This is major support on Bitcoin dominance. Obviously, if we break down and we lose that area, these alts are going to outperform. They're going to rip. They're going to do really nicely. But until then, watch that area supported. That is where we need to exercise caution. Any downside in the market and we start seeing dumps on these altcoins, look at this guy, 60.4%. That looks like a beautiful rejection zone there for me, and that looks like a nice market pump zone for us in that area. So 60.4% is the hot zone there for me on that dominance. But remember, that push into dominance, into a resistance zone like that, might come with some short-term pain on these altcoins. So again, pay attention to these levels I'm going to give you. If we drop lower, could be a nice gift from the market gods. Okay, let's start with ETH, and still just paying attention to higher time frames on ETH, not really diving in too much lately, but 3,170, this is our major support, and you can see our major resistance, 3.8. If we do get absolutely smashed by these market makers here, 2,750 is going to be a long zone for me. So pay attention to that on ETH. I'm not going much deeper. The interesting one to me at the moment is actually Solana. And what I've noted here, I'm tracking Sol on the daily for you guys. And what we've seen here is we've got a simple 786 giving us a reaction at the moment. Now, I don't expect this to hold if Bitcoin starts losing that 101K level. If Bitcoin starts going to 99, those types of zones, I would expect Solana to find itself under pressure. Where could we see Sol? Well, number one, 145, that is going to be the next big zone for us that you can look for some kind of bounce, obviously tied in with Bitcoin reacting and Bitcoin bouncing. And then the interesting one for me is I've written here, new low prints bullish divergence. Now, unfortunately, a new low on Sol on the daily time frame might be something as deep as this 130 level that I have been covering over the last week or two. And this could become a reality. The upside of this, or the plus side, is make sure you've got some limit orders ready in that zone. Make sure you are ready to react, because if the market falls over, that is a pretty strong bounce zone for me for Sol. And in terms of a daily bottom, that could really be the bullish divergence daily print that we want, and that could be the catalyst for quite a big strong move on Solana. So pay attention, 151 degen zone, 145 okay shortish term bounce zone, 130 high conviction bounce zone there for me, and a bonus of a bullish divergence print on the daily. Now you can see I am trading Sol at the moment. I had a couple of orders put in yesterday on BitGet. I had multiple orders actually waiting there for Sol. You can see I had another one at 146 trying to catch the move, and it picked up the 786 fib move there at 151. So I'm just riding this for now. In fact, what I'm going to do, because I'm going out now with a hackers team, I'm going to put a stop loss under that low. I'm going to give it a little bit of breathing room. So I'm going to put a stop here at 149.8. Let's make it 149.8. Okay, I'm dropping a stop here under that region, so that will protect me obviously if there is a little bit more downside. If we lose that, obviously it's a small risk, and then we can start looking at some of these lower levels. Now let's get into Aero. This has been a big one for me of late. It's been a nice pumper. It's responded really well, and now the question is there another possible trade around the corner for Aero? So a couple of things that I'm looking at. Number one is the existing zone that it's at. We can agree if you're looking at this, and I'm going to explain it now in more detail, but you can see there's quite a lot of confluence points in this region. So if Bitcoin tends to behave itself today over the next couple of hours, you might very well find that Aero actually holds this current region, and that is between 966 and 91. That is our 200-day moving average, a little bit lower down. So you might find on a little sweat of BTC, they drop you into that 200-day, and then they give you quite a big pump. So in terms of a first zone that you might want to sniff around in, because of the level of confluence in this area, I would say have a look here between this 96 region and this 91 zone. You could get something out of that. Don't go massive size, but you can see in terms of confluence here, this could be a little play. And if there is obviously a bit of a push in the market, then you can always start adding on when there is momentum. And then we don't want to aim too high. I would say, at best here, I'm looking at about 15%. All we want to do is try and ride this back into this undercarriage over there. That is 1.09, and then possibly a lower high and a rejection. So that will effectively lead you into a possible nice short opportunity as well later on. And obviously, you kind of want to look for shorts on strength, and you want to look for them in good zones. And for me, that would be a typical area you might want to sniff around at on 𝗂𝗧. So the double whammy here, short-term possible bounce in the zone I've just spoken about, and then a potential short opportunity for you at 1.08 into about 1.12. Interesting zones there for me on 𝗂𝗧. So look out for those. Then if the market drops hard, let's say Bitcoin really starts dropping, or just Bitcoin holds and these alts start collapsing, where's your next reasonable zone for 𝗂𝗧? Guys, this is it. 86 into about 84 looks like it's an area where you're going to get a strong bounce. Now, a strong bounce in these types of conditions might be 8%, might be 10%, something like that. So obviously, you know, we're not looking for massive moves here, but we're just looking for some good reaction areas. Remember, at some point we're going to get a bounce, whether it's there or whether it's off that zone, and that will give you an opportunity to possibly look for some shorts and send these things a little bit lower down as well. Okay, so you've got your zones, and remember, these charts that you see here, go into the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 go find them over there. Then another one for me, Hyperliquid, guys. This is 2 setups I've got for you here. And this is going to be very similar to what I've got on virtual for you as well. There's a degen zone that we're in now that's giving us a so-so reaction. And look, I'm not loving the fact that it hasn't bounced very hard. And what I'm looking at the moment is the possibility that we lose this level and we drop a little bit lower. So in terms of the existing trade from yesterday, there's been 2 pretty successful moves on this Hyperliquid. And you can see during the show yesterday, I had a couple of limit orders pick up for me on Hype. And well, I had 2 or 3 in that when entry box. And they have obviously now all been picked up. I think they've all been picked up. Let's just make sure. And yeah, there's one more left. Okay, there was one more left here at, what was that number? That was 37.5. But that was effectively what I was looking for this trade to play out. And, you know, I'm going to stick to that play at the moment. You can see my stop loss is at 37.5, my exit zone. So what you want is a candle close below 37.5. So if you are going to set a stop, you can see I've got a buy order at 37.5. So ideally, you want to have your stop underneath that or wait for the candle to close below to confirm that you're going to go lower. Now, if there is going to be a move, you can see it's been pretty choppy. So not looking for too much here, maybe a 6% at best. Maybe you can push it to 8, but not holding my breath at the moment based on the 2 very sort of disappointing bounces we've had so far on Hype. Okay, so just be careful with that. Don't go massive size on this thing, because if it rolls over, this is the next play for me. Now, what I've done is obviously in the Chart Hackers Discord, I have my higher time frame charts that I spend a lot of time on. And obviously, we can get lost in these degen levels, the 15 minutes, the 1 hour time frames. But when things are getting a bit dark out there, what you need to do is zoom out. And this is what I've done on Hype. And I'm looking at Hype at the moment on the 8 hour time frame. And you can see it's pretty clear at the moment what could be going on. This is a bit of an ugly head and shoulders situation brewing on Hype. Now, it doesn't guarantee that there's going to be downside, but if there is going to be downside, we can now be prepared for this. Now, what are the options? Now, number one is, and on a high time frame like this, there's no clear long and there's no clear short, unless you're doing degen things like you've seen on those lower time frames. Where are the big zones? So for me, the first big zone for a long on this 8 hour, 12 hour and daily time frame is going to be this 36 into about 34 region, and that will be a swing long where we're looking for like a substantial move. We're looking for more than 10%. We're looking for maybe 15 or a little bit more out of the token. So that is the first zone. Then if this head and shoulders starts playing out, this is going to be the next area or the next danger zone. It's going to be 32 that you're looking at down to about 30.3. Okay, that's going to be your next big long zones. And both of these should offer you fairly decent upside moves. It's just making sure that you can navigate your way around things if the market does start falling over. So those are the downside bounce levels that make sense for me. And then you want to keep it really simple. So right now, if there is for whatever reason a pump in the market, same play, you know, you want to look for this right shoulder to reject, which could offer you a possible short. So in terms of Hyperliquid, if we get a hard pump, 42.8, that looks like a beautiful exit zone. That looks like a beautiful possible short zone for you guys later on. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's a 50-day MA up there. It's our 0.5. It's horizontals as well. It would also represent a really nice fake out through that trend and possibly send this a little bit lower. So guys, look out for that. obviously it is a bearish setup. That is telling us, you know, higher time frame, we could be in for a little bit of pain here. So let's just look out for that one. Then in terms of Asta, waiting patiently for this bounce. Are we going to get it? Is Asta going to respect that VWAP once again? So there's only one way to find out, and that is to push buttons when it starts hitting that area, and you might find Asta drops into the zone at some point today. So if you want to have a crack, remember Asta is a very volatile token, and you know, these moves are pretty big, they're pretty brutal. So just be careful with your position sizing, be careful with how you are placing your stop losses and things like that. But there could be a little 10% play. There could be potentially more on Asta playing out. But step number one, let's see if it's going to hold this VWAP region. So anybody looking for a long opportunity on Asta, 106 into 104. That looks like the first reasonable zone, and that is simply going to be a carbon copy of what we've seen before. So we're going to try and play this exactly the same, look for the drop into the VWAP, and then that nice little bounce there for Asta. Now, obviously, if it starts losing levels, like, we need to protect ourselves. So where's the next possible bounce zone? 1 on the button, and then a little bit lower down, you're looking at about 96. Okay, so 1 and 96 are going to be your backup bounce zones. But for me, if we close under that VWAP, things are going a bit bearish, and rather for me going to step out then and let things play out a little bit more on this Asta. In terms of the 1 hour, you can see we're getting a reversal print, so a little sneaky another drop might actually play into our hands here and give us this move on Asta between 106 and 104. Okay, so Asta is sorted, hopefully. 𝗬𝗯𝗹, this is a big one for us. Why? We've got the halving coming in a couple of weeks, and everyone's trying to speculate when this thing is actually going to pump into the halving. We might be way too early now on the 13th of November to be looking for a play, but I'm trying to keep this on my watch list at the moment. And in terms of zones that were hit, we hit our zone yesterday, and this took a couple of days of me talking about it, but eventually it did come. So 344, 343, it's pinged the zone over here for us, and we've got our first bounce. Now, it depends how you want to play your risk on this guy, but for me, all the way down to 330 could be a reasonable bounce zone here for this tower. So right now, I am sitting in a small tower position. We picked up some of the orders here, and with the possibility of it dropping to 331. Okay, so look out for that. If there is more bearishness on tower, I'll obviously cover this for you guys come Sunday, come Monday next week. We'll be looking at these zones, but currently, as I can see it, 310, 285 are going to be the next gameplay zones for us on 𝗨 if we're looking for some kind of bounce. Okay, and just the current situation, you can see my current 𝗨 trade is actually starting to turn red now, unfortunately. So this means the market could be putting us under pressure here. Okay, we're going to take a look, and you can see I've got some limit orders waiting a little bit lower here, 342. I've got another order waiting on this 𝗨. So we're going to see if we're going to get that bounce. Then in terms of higher time frame, I just want to bring this to your attention. And again, you can see all these higher time frame charts, they are sitting in my channel in the Chart Hackers Discord. So if you want to zoom out and you want to get a perspective as to what I'm looking at on higher time frames, go to my channel in the Chart Hackers Discord, and you'll find that there. And here's the Tower chart, and this is effectively what if the shit hits the fan level for us. Okay, and you can see this thing is looking quite filthy, and if it really drops hard, this really ties in well, this 310 that we've covered on this previous chart over there, and then it drops all the way into, say, 289, which basically brings us in play with these lower time frame levels that I've covered over there for you guys. So you can see how they are tying in, and in terms of higher conviction zones, that is really starting to look like something for us. That's our 786 fib as well, and I would expect some kind of decent reaction out of that. Look at this beautiful low over here. Look at these nice bounces in these regions. You can see that is an area of interest for us on 𝗬𝗯𝗹. Let's just take a look at our oscillator here. This is our 12-hour oscillator, and you can see it does need to drop a little bit lower. It's not quite ready to reverse. So if you get that, that should lead us quite nicely into this zone that I'm speaking about over here for us. Okay, so just be patient. If you're playing zones now, if you're playing bounce zones now on these altcoins, keep the sizing small, manage your leverage, don't get too aggressive because there's signs that we could be going a little bit lower. Another one for you guys is virtual, and we covered 2 zones yesterday, and I don't know what's going on with TradingView at the moment. Every time I use a long tool, it starts changing how they look. It gives like a massive stop loss. But in terms of virtual, we looked at 2 zones yesterday. The first one, they gave us the bounce. Okay, very disappointing roll over here, as you can see at the moment. And now the next high conviction zone for me looks like it's going to become a reality over the next couple of hours here. So be ready. You can see I've got my alarm on 1.18 into that 50-day MA at 1.13. So fishing around in that zone. Let's see, we'll get a nice reset on that 1 hour, and we're going to look for something like that, bang, drop into that area, and then a possible bounce on virtual. You can see we do have some tie-in in the zone, and that 50-day MA, obviously a key marker for me. So I'm looking for a bounce there. If we drop, how deep is this move? Let's just get an idea. 6%, okay, 6 to 7%, so not too serious, but we'll feel pain. There's definitely going to be pain if we drop 6 to 7%, okay. Another one for me here is pump, and I covered 2 zones yesterday. One of them was this block over here. You can see they've chopped around, and now we're losing that level. What are we looking at now? A bounce zone coming in hot here, 375 into 363. So if you want to have a bit of a degen play, you can see we are just around the corner. There's a 786 here. There's nice confluence, and it's about a 2.5% risk. So that's not a bad risk reward here on a possible play coming on pump for you guys. That is your entry zone there, 375 into these lows here. Call it 365, somewhere in that zone. And then again, guys, your backup area. If the market starts collapsing, what are you looking at? Sit back, relax, be patient, and let it come to you. 349 into 34, making sense to me on 𝗏. Okay, so 2 nice bounce zones possibly there. And then obviously XRP, our old favorite friend. We shorted it over here. Okay, this was a thing of beauty. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Then yesterday on the show, we longed it off the VWAP. Okay, live on the show yesterday. Beautiful pump into a 786, okay, and now I'm in a little hedgy short play at the moment on XRP. You can see it's a little bit green here currently, and just letting this thing bleed a little bit more until we get our next higher conviction bounce zone here for you guys. So I don't have one just yet. I want this to play out. You can see this oscillator is still looking quite bearish for me on the 1 hour. So we could see a situation where we take, you know, half a day or so to drop this thing a lot lower. Once I have an idea as to where that's going to go, I will drop a setup in Chart Hackers Discord for you guys as to where I think we get the next XRP bounce. But I'm thoroughly enjoying shorting XRP. Yesterday was a cheeky long just for shits and giggles, and glad it actually played out there quite nicely. I'm sure James was very satisfied with the result. Now, a when entry for you guys that I teed up yesterday, and I think I'm quite happy just waiting for this one. I think let's be patient. This is uni on my when entry setup, and I still think there's an opportunity we're going to get this one. We just need to move that entry box over a little bit here, but for me, the zone is going to be around about 7 down into about 6.77, somewhere in that region, and that could be a really nice bounce for us. We're looking at 3% risk, and that when entry is in my when entry channel in the Chart Hackers Discord. Now, remember, everything you've seen me talk about on the show and the exchanges I'm using, they're all in the show description. So you go into the show, you click on more underneath the show in YouTube, and then you're going to find the Chart Hackers Discord link there, my accelerator courses there, the indicators are there, everything that I talk about is sitting in that for you guys. And then one more bonus one for you. I've got dupe, and I did cover this yesterday, and this will tie in quite nicely to a bit of a bearish Bitcoin, maybe sweeping some lows, but I think you could get a sneaky fake out here on dupe, guys, at 0.3. Look for that fake out. Obviously, protect yourself, protect your risk, and make sure you are ready to cut in case they start dropping it lower. but you might find there you get a little sneaky bump out of this dupe. Okay, so guys, that is it. There's a nice altcoin summary for you guys, a nice wrap on some of these coins that I'm looking at for possible bounce zones. Good luck. Be careful with your size. Things look like we could get that second dump lower down. So just be safe out there, and I'll probably drop a show tomorrow. If not, I'll drop another one on Sunday for you guys when we are back. But chart hackers, I want to see you guys at our venue tomorrow. Get into the chart hackers Discord. Come and see us. We're in Amsterdam, and we're going to hang out hard tomorrow. Catch you guys later.